Game on, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for listening to Box Score Radio. I'm your host, Jay Keaton. It is Monday, October 14th, 2019. For those of you who tuned in and watched some college football this weekend, you were in for a real treat. It was a hell of a weekend. 4 or 5 ranked versus ranked opponents. We had a huge upset, and of course my Irish got it done against USC. Let's go ahead and dive right into it. Friday scores. Miami, the Hurricanes upset number 20 Virginia 17-9. Number 13 Oregon took care of Colorado 45-3. And like I said, the big upset this weekend, unranked 2-3 South Carolina defeats Georgia number 3 20-17 in double overtime. Watch this whole game. Georgia just looked out of sync, a lot like the LSU game last year. They had 4 turnovers. Turn the ball over that many times, it's very hard to win, and they had their chances. First overtime, South Carolina kicker. Georgia quarterback Jake Fromm threw his 4th interception right out of the receiver's hands. It really wasn't his fault. And then South Carolina kicker, wide right. They go to the second overtime. I thought it was over then. I thought for sure Georgia would have put him away. South Carolina got the ball first, kicked the go-ahead field goal 20-17, and then the sure-legged Rodrigo Blankenship, the best kicker I've ever seen, better than Mike Nugent. Hadn't actually missed a field goal that hadn't been blocked this year. Pulls it wide left. Horrible way to lose, but damn, South Carolina, way to win. On the road at Georgia, number 3. And, Georgia, they were sluggish last week against Tennessee. They started off the first couple quarters, they started off cold. And they picked it up last week in the second half. This week, South Carolina just kept on them, though. Total yards, 468 for Georgia, compared to South Carolina's 297. So they moved the ball, but they turned it over and just didn't capitalize. It was one of those performances that you just wish you could have back. And Georgia's going to have their opportunities to get back in the playoff hunt because they got LSU, they got Auburn. Or no, I don't think they have LSU. They have Auburn, they have Florida. They still got to play Missouri in conference play. And then if they even get past all of that, they got to play the SEC champion, which will probably be Alabama. The SEC West champion, Alabama. So, does not look good for them. They got the opportunities to climb back in it, but do they have the talent? I don't know. I think they do, but damn. 4 turnovers from 3 picks and a fumble. That's not going to get it done. So that was the big upset. And I was just thinking before the game was over that there really hasn't been a big upset this year in college football, and that was the one so far. Okay, another good game. Oklahoma defeated Texas 34-27. I was wrong on this pick. I thought Texas was able to upset them. I knew this was going to be a close game because Oklahoma, this was a huge step up in competition for them. Their previous opponents were Houston, South Dakota, UCLA, Texas Tech, and Kansas, all unranked, most of them losing records. So, huge step up in competition. Jalen Hurts, 16-28, 235 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. Sam Ehlinger, quarterback of Texas, he was 26-38, 210 yards. They had a hell of an effort. Both teams moved the ball pretty well. 511 yards for Oklahoma, 310 for Texas. A lot of people are sitting there. I'm hearing a lot of shit about how Oklahoma's defense is back, and they proved it. I'm like, I didn't prove shit. They still gave up 27 points and 310 yards. Okay? Do what Wisconsin did and shut out your opponent for the 4th time this year. 4 out of 6 games, Wisconsin's shut out their opponent. Okay, it's not impressive to give up 310 yards. Yes, Oklahoma did turn the ball over twice, which helped Texas out, but I don't know. I'm not sold on their defense. I think it's going to be their Achilles heel again. Otherwise, they're the number one team in the country with that offense. But Sooners get it done. I think most likely, depending on what happens with Baylor, Baylor's looking good right now. They're still undefeated in the Big 12. I think we'll see Oklahoma and Texas rematching for the Big 12 title. Let's see. What else we got? Michigan over Illinois, 42-25. I watched a little bit of this game. Michigan had a 28-0 lead. Illinois scored 25 unanswered. And as a Notre Dame fan, with the bye and then playing Michigan 2 weeks from now, I'm very confident because Michigan in the second half, they do not look great. Their defense does not look great. Their offense is good, but they looked better. But there's still problems. They're one-dimensional. They have to run the ball. They can't throw it with Shea Patterson. But Michigan was able to pull this one out, luckily, on the road. Temple upsets number 23 Memphis, 30-28. I would have predicted this one had I actually said it on this podcast. Number 1 Alabama over number 24 Texas A&M, 47-28. Tagovailoa, 21-34, 293 yards, 4 touchdowns, 1 pick. Kellen Mond was 24-42, 264 yards, and 2 touchdowns. So not a bad day for the Texas A&M quarterback, but unfortunately your defense didn't stop anybody. And we say this every single year. Everybody tries to build up LSU or build up Auburn or build up Georgia or build up Florida. Ladies and gentlemen, and as long as Nick Saban is still the head coach of Alabama, expect them to win the SEC. I have yet to see anything that says they're not going to win the SEC. They're going to cruise through the West. They get Auburn at home. I don't think they really play anybody else of significance besides LSU, of course. But again, they get LSU at home. That could be a shootout. And I really like what Joe Burrow's doing for LSU. But again, at home, on the road, in Tuscaloosa, with that team that's looking better and better. You know, the defense might have some holes, but still, you know, their offense is even better than last year. So if you don't think that Nick Saban's going to be ready for that game and have his team ready to play defense against LSU, you're crazy. I still like Alabama to win the West. Actually, they're at Auburn this year, so depending on how Bo Nix wants to play, could be an upset. I still like Alabama in the West. Okay. Clemson. I told you, everybody. You wanted to write them off because of a 1-point win against North Carolina. They just stomped the hell out of Florida State. They're still undefeated. They're number 2 in the country. They have an easy schedule. They're going to go undefeated. They're going to be in the playoffs. And you know what? As long as Trevor Lawrence is quarterbacking and Travis Etienne is in the backfield, they got a chance to beat anybody. I told you, they will be your worst nightmare if you sleep on them. Wisconsin, 38-0 over Michigan State. I like Michigan State's defense. Their offense is pathetic. And even so, 402 total yards for Wisconsin. They made a statement. 222 yards rushing. They made a statement. They said, hey, OSU. You know, I get that it's hard to compare opponents, and sometimes it's like a race car. The room for error is very small in football, but they made a statement and they proved that, hey, if we were playing in Madison, we'd beat your asses, but we're playing at the Horseshoe and we can beat your ass. So look out, Ohio State. Arizona State defeats Washington State 38-34. Number 25 Cincinnati defeats Houston 38-23. Overtime and double overtime. Number 22 Baylor stays undefeated. They beat Texas Tech 33-30. Number 10 Penn State over Iowa 17-12. I still think Penn State's the second best team in the Big Ten simply because of their offense. They didn't look so great against Iowa. Iowa had 2 turnovers. But If you ever look at the history of Penn State, Iowa always plays Penn State tough. Always. It's something about those two teams playing that makes it an interesting matchup. I think Kirk Ferentz just knows. If I had to take a guess, they probably go after the same players. They recruit the same players, so he's familiar with what Penn State's those players are gonna throw at him. But they outgained Penn State 356 to 294. Turned the ball over 2 times. It's hard to win. Louisville upsets number 19 Wake Forest 62-59. This was a shootout over 1,100 yards. Total offense for both teams. Wake Forest was previously undefeated, and it's a good win for Louisville. They have losses against Florida State and Notre Dame, but they're 4-2 on the season. And game of the week, LSU Florida. LSU pulls it off 42-28. Again, almost 1,000 yards total offense. LSU had 511. Florida had 457. Again, this is why I think Alabama's going to beat them, because as good as LSU is offensively, Nick Saban is going to have Alabama's defense ready to play this game. Trust me on that. So their defense has got to step up in the next 2 weeks. They got Mississippi. They're on the road at Mississippi State. Then they're home against Auburn. And then on the road against Alabama. So next 3 weeks are going to be interesting for the Tigers. Keep an eye on them, though. They scored a late touchdown, put the game away. This is definitely Ed Orgeron has definitely proven to be a great coach. One way or the other. No matter what happens, he's proven that he's a fucking great football coach and that he can recruit and he can develop these players. Utah over Oregon State 52-7, and finally Boise State defeats Hawaii 59-37. So here's my overall takeaway for this weekend, excuse me. We're coming up on the midway point of the college football season. Players are starting to get hurt. They're starting to get banged up. We're starting to get into the meat of the conference play. So there's no more cupcakes. You better come ready to play. You're playing teams that recruit the same players. Teams that want to beat you. We got rivalries. We saw that with Notre Dame and USC. 30-27. But let me just say, as a Notre Dame fan and watching Notre Dame for the past 20-something years, I'm just happy for the win. I get they should have beat USC by more. I get that USC was unranked. I get that they were down to their third-string quarterback. I get that Notre Dame's number 9 and that this is the fastest perimeter team they've had in the Brian Kelly era. I get all that. But watching the Bush push, watching them getting blown out in every single USC game for the past 10 years, to win 3 in a row, win 4 out of the last 5 is very impressive. I'm happy with them. I'm proud of them. A win's a win. Like I said, if you've watched Notre Dame football and rooted for them, you know that a win's a win. Because there was a lot of years where they were hyped up and they lost games like this. I'm just happy to see them winning them. I don't care what the score was. I don't care how ugly it looked. I don't care if there should have been a penalty on the onside kick because Brian Kelly's a fucking idiot who decided to run on the damn field. I don't know what the hell he's thinking. And he better be addressing that, when he meets with his team this week, he better be addressing that he almost cost them. I don't think they would have got the onside kick, but they would have got a second chance for it. And you know what? The more chances you get, the more likely you're going to get it. So he better be apologizing to his team and taking ownership and own his shit, because he almost cost his team a fucking win. If they would have gotten the onside kick, scored a touchdown or field goal and lost in overtime, that would have been all on him, and he knows it. Dumbass, don't you fucking run on the field at any point in the game, especially when you're not doing the onside kick. I don't get it. Even brilliant guys have stupid moments. But like I was saying, meat of the schedule, we're starting to see the teams that are for real and who's not. And every week counts. It's NCAA tournament right now. You lose, you're pretty much done. Not guaranteed, but it's hard to come back. So, great weekend for college football. let's go ahead and continue with football and move on to the NFL. Week 6. I already discussed on Friday the Patriots-Giants game. Panthers over the Buccaneers, 37-26. This was the game in England. Jameis Winston, 5 turnovers. Thank God he's on my bench in my fantasy football and I dropped his ass because, damn, dude, really? When are you going to freaking learn? You've been in the league, 6-7 years? You can't be throwing stupid passes like this. You can't be turning the ball over like that. How's that working for you? You're basically Andrew Luck without the injury, and the wins. So, Seahawks beat the Browns 32-28. I watched this whole game. Browns came out to an early 20-6 lead, missed extra point, and then the tide turned from there. 19 unanswered. Cleveland retakes the lead, 28-25. Then Chris Carson, 3 minutes, 30 seconds left, scores game-winning 1-yard touchdown. And I don't get what Cleveland. To me, Cleveland and Dallas are the same team. Talented on both sides of the ball, good quarterback play, good running backs. Difference is Dallas has a better offensive line than Cleveland. Cleveland's offensive line still needs some work, but the problem isn't the players. It ain't the general manager. It ain't the owner. It ain't the staff. It ain't the medical staff, coaching staff. It's the guy wearing the headset. The head coach, Freddie Kitchens of Cleveland, Jason Garrett of Dallas. There's your problem. You get rid of those coaches, you have something. You have coaches that simply don't know what to do to make their teams compete to the end. You have Cleveland 2-4 on the season. They got wins over. The Baltimore win was impressive. You got the win over the Jets without Sam Darnold. But other than that, you've been blown out in these games, and then you blow a lead like this. Come on. Doesn't look good, doesn't give you confidence. Then you got Dallas. You beat the Redskins, you beat the Giants, you beat the Dolphins, which is altogether, 2-12, those 3 teams combined. Then you get beat by the Saints, you get beat by Green Bay. Okay, good teams. I think the Saints win the NFC this year. I predicted that, and they're looking great right now without Drew Brees. Packers are a great team with Aaron Rodgers. We know that when he's healthy, he's one of the best quarterbacks in the league. But losing this one, and here's the thing. I think Sam Darnold, losing 24-22 to the Jets, I think Sam Darnold's the future. I think you could tell in one game, you could tell a huge difference between them with the Jets without Sam Darnold and with them. It's not even close. As far as quarterbacks compared to their teams, I think he's the most important quarterback to his team. They can win games with him. They can't without him. And you're the Cowboys. You're going to lose this game with that on that defense, that team. You're going to lose this game with the talent that you have on defense, offense. And please, with regards to the 2-point conversion at the end of a game to win it, talking about the Redskins and Dolphins, kick the fucking extra point. Okay, don't miss it like Atlanta did and lose 34-33. We get that. Sometimes it's not guaranteed, especially since they moved it back 10, 15 yards. But what are the odds? It's got to be like 0 for, Jacksonville went for 2 against Houston, didn't get it. Dolphins went for 2, didn't get it. I'm sure I'm missing a couple teams that went for 2, and it's never very successful. If you saw the play, the Dolphins game, they score with 6 seconds left. They go for 2. They run some kind of bullshit wide receiver screen. Just snap it, throw it to him. And if you watched it, even if he would have caught the guy dropped the ball, but even if he would have caught it, he was going to get blown up by the defensive end. The defensive end was right there. He was going to tear him a new asshole if he would have caught that ball anyway. Just a stupid play call. Don't go for 2. Go for 1, especially when you're at home and you've got the momentum. Take your chances in overtime. Stop trying to go for the win Because guess what? You're going to lose. You look at this. Look at the 2-point conversion statistically. I guarantee you, I don't have it exactly, but I guarantee you it's not good. It's just one from what I've seen. You try to go for 2 in the win, you don't get it. Just kick the extra point, okay? All right, that's all I want to say about that crap. Texans over the Chiefs, 31-24. Vikings over the Eagles, 38-20. I tell you, Dallas might have lost 3 straight, but they're still in it. They still have a chance to win the NFC East because you got the Giants. You know, you got the Redskins who finally got a win. You got the Giants who's got 1 or 2 wins. And then you got the Eagles and Cowboys at 3-3. So that division is really turning out to be a really weak division. And it's anybody's race. So, but the Vikings with another big win. I think they might be getting momentum. They're a dangerous team. Very talented quarterback that can play well if he wants to. Look out for the Vikings. Saints over my Jaguars 13-6. It was bound to happen. Gardner Minshew had a horrible game. 14-29, 163 yards, an interception. Saints 5-1 on the season. The most talented team in the NFC, period, which is why I picked them to go to the Super Bowl. You know, and they're winning games without Drew Brees. Imagine when he comes back, hopefully it won't affect the rhythm, you know, but I think they'll just be even better. Right now they're winning with defense. Their offense is going to be better, and they're going to be a better team. Ravens beat the Bengals 23-17. Bengals start tanking, okay? Start trying to get another quarterback. Andy Dalton's not the answer. He never has been. He never will be. 49ers over the Rams 20-7. 49ers now 5-0 on the season. They are definitely the biggest threat to the Saints in the NFC. 331 total yards for San Francisco compared to LA's at 157. Rams, you know, they were supposed to be one of the favorites in the NFC, and it's completely flip-flop in San Francisco. Healthy, talented, well-coached, playmakers on both sides of the ball. Garoppolo's doing his thing. He was 24 of 33, 243 yards and interception, but you know, defensively they did so damn good that he didn't need to go good. He didn't need to do good, so they bail him out. 49ers, they're going to be tough to beat. Cardinals over the Falcons. I said this, 34-33. Don't go for 2, go for 1, and take your chances in overtime. Even though this was a mixed extra point, it happens. Tough way to lose, but it happens. Broncos shut out the Titans 16-0. Mariota's days are numbered in Tennessee. And finally, the Steelers beat the Chargers 24-17. I think that's the second win for Pittsburgh. 4th loss for the Chargers. Who knows? Who knows about Pittsburgh? I mean, that division, if they can just build off this, you look at the rest of they got the Dolphins next week. Or excuse me, they got a bye week, then the Dolphins, then a home against the Colts, home against the Rams, and then they take on the Browns. They could easily, I think they could very manageably win the next 4 games and be 6-4. And then what? Then you got the Bengals, Browns again, Cardinals, home against the Bills, Steelers, or excuse me, Jets on the road, and then on the road against the Ravens. I mean, this could be a 9-7 team, honestly. 10-6, 9-7, getting a wild card. So as long as Devlin Hodges, who can throw the ball, you know, he's got a cannon on him. Look out, that they might be a pretty legitimate contender in the AFC North. All right, overall takeaway. Well, we know the 49ers are for real. We know the Patriots are going to win the AFC. We know the Chiefs are struggling. We know the Bengals are the worst team in the NFL, I think. And then we also know that the Browns, the Cowboys and the Browns are good, but they haven't really played anybody, and the teams they have played, they lost to. So those are two teams, like I said, the Cowboys, the Browns are two teams, they need to step it up. Too talented, too good to be losing these kind of games. 2-4 and 3-3, I don't think so. Way too good for this. But some entertaining games, and yeah, I kicked ass in my fantasy football. Sorry, Eric. I'm number 2 in my league. I got the most points for and the most points against. If what that means in English is I score the most points, and I've had the most points scored against me. So I'm doing pretty damn good. Not bad for somebody who missed the draft. All right. Got to talk some baseball, don't we? Of course we do. Excuse me. Playoffs. Saturday, we had the NLCS Game 2. Nationals beat the Cardinals 3-1. Washington leads 2-0. I'm not a fan. Let me just say that I'm not a fan, and I've probably said this on previous podcasts. I'm not a fan of a 7-game series. I don't see the logic of beating a team, how one team can win 3 games in a row and still lose the series, making the other team win 4 games in a row. How does that make sense? That you beat a team 3 times in a row and then they still advance ahead of you because you end up choking the next 4. If you want to go to 3, that's fine. Best of 3 is fine. Best of 5, best of 7, get rid of it. To me, it's pointless. It doesn't really prove that the one team's better than the other. It proves that through 7 games, we were able to come out on top 4 of them. Definitive, make it that 1 game. I always like the 1 game. And people argue against it and say, well, anybody can have a bad game. Well, the great teams don't have the bad games, do they? Let it come down to 1. I mean, what's the difference of having 1 game versus a game 7? It's still 1 game, isn't it? But anyway, Washington leads 2-0 over the Cardinals. Yankees were able to take out the Astros 7-0 on Saturday. But, of course, everybody heard about it. Carlos Correa, walk-off home run in the 11th. Astros beat the Yankees 3-2, tie the series at 1 apiece. As somebody who has followed the Yankees, who, kind of roots, of all professional sports, baseball is really the only sport there I root for the best. I've always been a Yankees fan. Grew up near Cincinnati, in Dayton. Been to a couple Reds games. You try to root for the Reds, but you just realize it's a sinking ship, and then there's only so many times you can root for a team that sucks in professional sports before you finally realize, let me root for a team that I know at least every so often is going to make the playoffs and make it and be legitimate contenders, okay? So as a Yankees fan, I can't stand a clutch hitter like this guy because it reminds me so much of Big Papi. When Big Papi was playing for Boston, and he sorry about that. He was the most clutch hitter I've ever seen. He was nothing but a designated hitter, but every time he was up, he was just so freaking clutch in these playoff games, and it just reminds me of that. And you got to be clutch against the Yankees, really, dude. Series tied. This is probably going to be a better series than the Nationals-Cardinals. They're 2 better teams. Yankees 103 wins. Houston had 107 wins compared to 91 and 93 for the Nationals and Cardinals. So, but I still have faith that the Yankees are going to get past the Astros and get to the World Series and hopefully take out the Nationals. And that's that. Yankees win another one. Number 1 world champions get it done again. I'm still picking on it. I'm still betting on it. All right. Finally today, ladies and gentlemen, if you were able to stay up late Saturday and watch UFC Fight Night, Joanna Jędrzejczyk versus the Karate Hottie, Michelle Waterson. Well, first of all, in the co-main event, Cub Swanson beats Kron Gracie by unanimous decision. I called that one. I thought Cub Swanson would use his experience to overtake Kron Gracie on the feet. He didn't want to go to the ground, and he didn't. Won this one 30-27 across the board. Great win for him. Somebody who's been in the game a long time. 37th professional fight. It's his 26th win. Congratulations, Cub. Kron Gracie's proven that he's still a good fighter, but he's only had 6 professional fights. So he's got a long way to go. Sorry, I just threw up in my mouth a little bit. Main event. Who wouldn't love this fight? Joanna versus Michelle Waterson. Joanna wins by unanimous decision. Just how I thought it would be. She won the stand-up game. Landed 226 total strikes, 180 significant, compared to Michelle Waterson's 58 significant strikes and 71 total strikes. Michelle Waterson's only chance was to go to the ground, and she couldn't do it. She was 1 for 9 on takedowns. And Joanna was 3 for 5, so that just shows you if Joanna's out-grappling you, that's a problem because you're not going to outstrike her on the feet. It's very difficult to do. Only one person's been able to do that, and that's Rose, who's not even fighting anymore. I don't think she's out of the title picture. So I give Joanna the first shot. If you're the UFC and you're in the business of making fights, who else are you going to put at strawweight? Nobody. So give Joanna her rematch for that title. And these two girls kissed at the end, which has made me very happy. I'm a misogynistic guy. I'm a pervert. I admit to it. So sue me. All right. And, hey, what about tonight, huh? Monday night. We got Monday Night Football. Lions at Packers. Packers 3.5-point favorite. Give me the Packers by 7. This is going to be a close game. The Lions are very improved, but they're not good enough to win in Green Bay. Nationals take on the Cardinals. This will be game 3. I'm looking for the Cardinals to win this one. They got to win this one. You go down 3-0 against a team that's red hot like the Nationals, you're probably going to end up getting swept. So I look for the Cardinals to win this one. NBA preseason basketball is in full tilt. Hold on a second. Let me bring up the games tonight. You got the Hawks and Heat, Hornets, Grizzlies, Thunder versus Mavericks, Nuggets, Suns, Kings, Jazz, and Warriors, Lakers. Which means absolutely nothing because it's preseason, and I think you got to wait another month. What is it, November something when the season starts? Should be very interesting with the parity now that we have in the NBA. And finally, if you are an NHL hockey fan, the season has already started. You got the Sabres versus the Stars. Capitals take on the Avalanche. Bruins versus Ducks. Wild versus Senators. Panthers versus Devils. Blues take on the Islanders. And late game tonight, 8:30, you got the Oilers at 5-0 on the season, taking on the Blackhawks, 0-2-1. So, I am tapped out today. Great show. Put in 30 minutes here. I'm getting better. Getting better every day, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for tuning in to Box Score Radio. Catch the show on YouTube. Like, subscribe, tell a friend, and don't forget to leave some comments. Good or bad, I don't care. I just want the feedback. Okay, guys? Thanks for tuning in, and I will catch you on Friday, players.